Some people scream when they're hurt. Others just fade. They fade from conversations, from themselves, from life. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like fog at sunrise. People think that's strength. They call it Stoicism, noble silence, composure, grace under fire. But sometimes, it's not grace. It's just exhaustion. You're not okay. You're just tired of explaining your pain to people who only listen when you're bleeding loudly. You smile less, talk less, feel less, not because you found peace, but because your screams got ignored one too many times. Now you sit still, not calm, just contained, like a storm, in a jar with a nice label on it. They call that Stoic. You call it survival. I call it unprocessed grief in a tuxedo. Maybe you don't need motivation. You don't need philosophy. You don't need another quote to hang on your broken walls. Maybe you just need permission to stop pretending you're fine. And if no one's given it to you yet, here it is, right now. I see you, and no, you're not crazy. You're just cracked in places the world can't see. And that makes you very real. Pain is inevitable, but what you do with it, that's where it gets messy. You were told to be strong, to handle it, to not make a scene, and so you didn't. You internalized it. You held it in, like a breath you were never allowed to exhale. And now, you call that Stoicism, but let's be honest, that's not Stoic. That's silence, dressed up to look like wisdom. Stoicism isn't about burying pain. It's about recognizing it, owning it, and not letting it turn you into someone bitter. But you've mistaken not talking about it as a sign of healing. You say, "I'm fine," so often. Even your reflections stopped believing it. You think because you didn't cry in public, you're strong. Because you kept your breakdown tidy and silent, you're stoic. But really, you just got tired of watching people get uncomfortable when you were honest. You buried the hurt, not because it stopped, but because you knew no one was listening anymore. Let me tell you something. Pain is normal. It's human. It means you're still here. What's not normal is pretending you're untouched by it. Stoicism doesn't ask you to lie. It asks you to face pain with your eyes open, not to pretend you don't feel it at all. If you're hurting, say so. If you're breaking, admit it. If you're tired of pretending, stop. Because true strength isn't in pretending you're made of stone. It's in standing back up, while still admitting the fall hurt like hell. You have power over your mind, not the world, not other people, just you. But here you are, still trying to bend life into the shape you imagined, still chasing closure from people who barely gave you honesty. Let me guess, you post cryptic quotes. You pretend it's just aesthetic, but deep down it's bait for someone, anyone, to finally notice you're falling apart in high resolution. But Stoicism, real Stoicism, doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't demand applause for surviving pain. It doesn't need to be seen, to be real. You can't control who hurt you. You can't control what they did. You can't control the silence they left behind. But what you can control is how long you keep refreshing their profile, hoping for a ghost of remorse. That's not power. That's just emotional gambling. And the house always wins. Stop pretending every vague post is just a thought. It's not. It's your pain, in disguise, begging for attention it never got the first time. You want to heal? Start by accepting this brutal truth. Most people don't care why you're hurting. They just care that you stop making them uncomfortable with it. So stop posting your pain like it's art. You're not Picasso. You're a human being, bleeding quietly behind a like button. And here's the kicker. You keep saying you don't care anymore, but the louder you say it, the more it sounds like a lie you're desperate to believe. Stoicism isn't about being unaffected. It's about being unmoved by things that were never yours to fix. So next time you reach for that real one stay caption, maybe just don't. Write it down somewhere private. Cry. Scream. But stop packaging your breakdowns into digestible content. Your healing isn't a broadcast. It's a personal rebellion. You say you feel nothing now, and you call that stoic. But let me tell you something most won't dare say out loud. Numbness isn't wisdom. It's just exhaustion, with better PR. You stopped caring. You stopped reacting. You stopped feeling. Not because you're enlightened, but because feeling kept getting you hurt. So you shut it all down and called it growth. It's not. It's just fear, with a new wardrobe and a cold stare. Stoicism isn't about being untouchable. It's about being touched deeply and still choosing not to bleed on everyone you meet. You think being emotionless makes you superior, but really, it just makes you unreachable. You don't look powerful. You look absent, detached, like someone who's been burned one too many times and decided never to feel fire again. But here's the catch. You can't live half-dead and expect to heal. Numb isn't neutral. It's just another kind of broken. The Stoics didn't feel nothing. They just refused to let their feelings rule them. They cried. They struggled. But they did it with clarity, not chaos. You're not above emotion. You're drowning in unspoken ones, buried under 5 layers of I'm fine. So no. You're not stoic because you don't care anymore. You're just tired, and that's okay. But don't mistake silence for peace. And don't pretend shutting down is a path to wisdom. It's just hiding, with better vocabulary. You're still here, still breathing, still trying. You've been cracked, bent, worn down, but you're still moving. And that alone is enough to scare the world that tried to break you. You don't need to be inspirational. You don't need to be unshakable. You don't need to post your healing every week just to prove that you're surviving. You just need to be honest with yourself, with the pain, with the silence. The Stoic doesn't pretend the fire never came. They walk through the ashes, with their head high and their voice calm, not because they weren't burned, but because they learned how to live, even after the burn. So no, you're not broken beyond repair. You're just becoming someone else now. Someone quieter, sharper, stronger in ways no one claps for. And if you made it this far, maybe you're not just a viewer. Maybe you're one of the quiet ones too. If you need more moments like this, if you need space to reflect, to be still, to feel without apologizing, subscribe. Not because I have the answers, but because maybe, just maybe, we're both still figuring this out. And somehow, it feels a little less heavy when you're not doing it alone. You're still here, still breathing, still trying. You've been cracked, bent, worn down, but you're still moving. And that alone is enough to scare the world that tried to break you. You don't need to be inspirational. You don't need to be unshakable. You don't need to post your healing every week just to prove that you're surviving. You just need to be honest with yourself, with the pain, with the silence. The The Stoic doesn't pretend the fire never came. They walk through the ashes, with their head high and their voice calm, not because they weren't burned, but because they learned how to live even after the burn. So no, you're not broken beyond repair. You're just becoming someone else now. Someone quieter, sharper, stronger in ways no one claps for. And if you made it this far, maybe you're not just a viewer. Maybe you're one of the quiet ones too. If you need more moments like this, if you need space to reflect, to be still, to feel without apologizing, subscribe. Not because I have the answers, but because maybe, just maybe, we're both still figuring this out. And somehow, it feels a little less heavy when you're not doing it alone.